like a proper actress, and you do a lot of this. So I want to. She's a basketball star. I want to take string some threes. So Kate Winslet.
John wants to see her put one in the net.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
John, you've got a new background going on.
No, I'm boring my wife's office because my kids are going nuts by where I normally do this. So I know we didn't want the kids going crazy. What up, Mr. Scott? What's up, folks? We were just.
What, they didn't want to watch Blade with us again?
Yeah, no, apparently not. We're talking about the mayor of Easttown for a second there. You guys think it's a good show, right?
Yes,
most definitely. Rob, when are you gonna watch Ted Lasso? When can I start talking about it?
Not for a while. So funny enough, my wife the other day was going to watch season 1 without me because I kept bugging her. She couldn't find it. She goes, I went to Disney, I went to Amazon, I went to Crave, I went to Netflix. I'm like, did you not try Apple Plus? And she goes, for God's sakes, how many streaming services do we have? And I was like, we have Apple Plus. So I think she's gonna watch it. We're gonna watch season 1. So I feel like I need to. I don't think I can have the patience to wait week to week.
Yeah, you're gonna wait till it's all done and then just tank it or something.
It's phenomenal. First 3 episodes are an arc. There's a break and then it restarts again. So it was one of the bonuses of getting additional episodes. They were able to kind of throw in the 4th episode. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just like, oh, we have a 4th episode. Let's just add it in. It's done really well. So Ted Lasso, get on it. Or and again, John, episode 5 of season 2 is written for you. It's all about romantic comedy. The Ted Lasso starts grilling the guys on romantic comedies. All the guys are bringing out like actresses and actors and whatnot. So
yeah,
everything you want.
It's on my list because I don't believe Big Shot is going to get renewed. So I'm going to need some type of sports show to fill that void.
You didn't watch Mighty Ducks?
I tried. I couldn't get into it. I don't know why.
It has moments.
Yeah, and I watched those movies a ton of times. Like I think it was Mighty Ducks 2 where they go out and they're rollerblading on the street and stuff like that.
Yes,
I remember watching that a million times, and I don't remember any of it.
Really, at the end of the day, you're waiting for Joshua Jackson to come back. So when that happens, you're all in. It's him.
He's too busy. He's too busy being Dr. Death right now. So
I think it was a COVID thing. He couldn't cross the border because he had a newborn child. So he's like, I want to do this, but I can't come over. And they're like, yeah, we will probably. They wanted him for a more substantial arc instead of just like a flyby cameo. So both him and Kean Thompson, they're like, yeah, we were not going to waste you on one episode. So there's been a lot of stuff. So let's go.
He is Dr. Death. He is Dr. Death in that based off of that.
And PaceyCon, baby, PaceyCon. PaceyCon 2021.
I actually wanted to name my firstborn, but we knew it was a boy. I wanted to name him Pacey, and my wife shot that down very quickly and probably correctly. So
no, that's even better. Pacey would have been perfect.
Dawson's Creek,
yes, sir.
We have an intro, John. What are we doing?
I don't know. I thought you were going to sing for us, like some
Mariah
Carey, maybe.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
No. All right.
I'm not gonna lie, my theme song was better.
Yeah.
Theme song. Sidekicks. Theme song.
We could switch to a live theme show.
That truly is the greatest of themes. That was the greatest song. But yeah, you're welcome to use it. Go ahead. Carry on.
All right,
Party
welcome
on, Wayne.
Everybody to the Sidekick Show. It is Monday, August 23rd. I've got Rob here, my illustrious co-host, and we've got our special guest Stu here. We're going to be talking Blade from 1998 in a moment. So we got a couple things to cover. I've got a couple things store related that I'm going to mention, and then Rob's going to hit us with some hard hitting news, like hard copy back in the day. Is hard copy still a thing?
Like Inside Edition.
Inside Edition.
That's
Yeah.
right. Inside
I-
edition.
So we're gonna
I
rely
hope-
on Stu for the music cues
Before
when it
Bill
comes
O'Reilly
to
became
news.
nutty.
I always imagine that Sarah and Gordon, it'll be a Fast 9 situation where a kid will just drop in their lives. Sarah will be like, I can't believe this is happening. Whatever your name is, I'm naming you Pacey. And that's what's going to happen. This is going to be a situation just like Vin Diesel. Whatever your name was, it doesn't matter. Now your name's Brian. Carry on.
That's right.
So that's my dream and hope for both Gordon and Sarah. So carry on.
All right. So naming random things aside, let's go into. I'm just going to mention some things that are related to Blade because Andre's going to be covering the new releases tomorrow on what's new at Heroes World. So I wanted to mention a few things. If you were into this Blade movie and in the chat, I saw a lot of people went ahead and watched the other two movies. So maybe you're on a Blade kick. Maybe you really like this character and you want to see some more stuff. So I'm just going to mention a few things. So the first thing I'm going to mention is you can use Blade in the Marvel vs. System card game. That's released from that's from Upper Deck. That's a living card game. So that's a new way to play Marvel cards, and this is when you play against each other. And Mobius is also in that.
John, can you talk to me about Overpower? Does Blade have an Overpower? Can you bring up?
No.
Oh.
There's no continuation of Overpower. A lot of people are demanding it. So if you've ever been a fan of Overpower, hopefully something will happen soon. Maybe someone wants you kickstarted that. Blade is also being added to Marvel Crisis Protocol very soon. It's a tabletop miniature game where you choose a bunch of different Marvel characters and they face off and perform different missions. So that's going to be really cool. That'll be out in September. And if you are looking to read some comic book action, I'm going to cover up Stu here for a second. The most recent Marvel crossover, Heroes Reborn, Blade was a very central character to this story arc. And then if you want even more Blade action, he is also featured in the current Avengers title by Jason Aaron, where the Avengers are fighting a whole legion of vampires and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, if you want some more Blade action and you want to
what is the situation, John, with the Night Stalkers? Are they still a thing? Is the Night Stalkers
not at the moment? Blade, yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but Blade has kind of failed to cement himself in an ongoing, long-running series for quite some time. And Night Stalkers, yeah,
no,
I think they're just not putting they're not putting the proper talent on him. But that's it for just story-related things I wanted to mention. So let's kick it to Rob for the news because I know all you guys are definitely going to want to be talking Blade with us. So go ahead, Rob, take it away with the news.
Let me just say, first of all, that I was going to make this joke about how Scott in his university days was a big fan of the Upper Decker. But looks like he beat me to it almost. So way to go, Scott. Looks like you and I are thinking the same. Hey, yeah, so we got some news coming out. I'm going to make it really quick because we are kind of waiting for something kind of big to drop in the next 60 to 90 minutes. So we'll see if we're still online. We'll be breaking.
I think we will be.
Well, we might be. But I'm going to go with this. John, you were a big fan of the Emancipation of Harley Quinn and the befriending of the Black Canaries or the whatever they were. It was what the hell was that movie called? The Harley Quinn movie. You were a big fan of that movie, were you not?
The Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, and I think there was a sentence after it too as well.
Yes, there is. But I can't. And the Birds of Prey, wasn't that it? The Emancipation of one Harley Quinn and the something, the Birds of Prey. Anyways, you liked that movie, didn't you?
I liked it originally on initial watch.
Okay.
And I tried to fire it back up. It did not. The movie going experience is just too good. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was letting.
Rob, are you sure it's not called "Don't Be a Menace to South Central" while drinking your juice in the hood?
Juice in the hood.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
Well, I want to let you know that Journey Smollett, who played Black Canary in that Harley Quinn movie, she now has her own spin-off movie apparently being developed for HBO Max called Black Canary. That's all I got for you. There you go. So
yeah,
if you're
this was a Twitter movement, I think they wanted her to get her own movie. I don't know if they caved to that movement or it was already in the works, but
one would say that the success of the Suicide Verse is continuing because if you think about it, that universe has now spun off 2 TV shows. So it started off with that, then Harley Quinn got her movie, then Harley Quinn, that movie, Black Canary, then next Suicide Squad, and now Peacemaker. So it's probably now the most successful franchise in the DCU, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Suicide Verse.
So we
Now,
have David Ayer to think for all of this. Is really
where
what this meant.
is the Ayer cut? Where is it? When can we see
They're
it?
demanding. It was trending, right? It hit a lot of retweets or whatever it's called. So
Whatever it's called. You know that square box with the arrows where things get redone. Last week, listen, we've been talking a little bit, just a little bit, about Denis Villeneuve's Dune, this upcoming masterpiece that will be dropping in theaters, hopefully, sometime in October or November. Last week, they released the runtime. Now, we've seen 2 trailers. One was kind of like a 1.5-minute teaser, and we just saw like a 3-minute trailer drop about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. This is a giant, sprawling, epic movie. They released the runtime of this movie. Do you guys have any indication of what do you think the runtime for this movie would have been? 3 hours, you're saying. Stu, you know, I know you know the answer, but what would you have thought had you not known the answer, which I'll unveil in a second?
I always was the assumption it was going to be 2 hours and 45 minutes, like just under the cut of 3. Like my mind was like, oh, it's just under 3, so that they can milk us for a director's cut, and the extended cut would be like now 3 hours long.
Well, I honestly thought we were going to be crouching over the 3-hour mark, given how like deep this movie is and how much of a lore they really have to rebuild and start anew. Anyways, the runtime was released. It's 2 hours and 35 minutes long, so Stu is not far off. I was shocked when I read this because, as I said, given how much this is, I really anticipated that we would be having a 3+ hour movie, even though we're supposed to be getting a TV show. And even though Denis Villeneuve has already said he's working on the script for the sequel, which is supposed to spur out of those 10 episodes that are supposed to be on HBO Max. We have no idea what's happening with that. So I don't know, man. I'm not saying
like
it's
we
bad
are.
news,
We are
but
the 3 of us are old enough to remember when Kenneth Branagh released his version of Hamlet, which was a 3+ hour movie, and they split it in 2 halves. There was a time when they were like, oh, you were in the movie, they gave you an intermission to get the bathroom or do something else, and you go back to the theater and watch the second half of Hamlet. Yeah. That was the thing. I imagine that was a special time because, you know, there were movies were experienced, but there's no way now with the amount of money they're making that they're going to let you go out of the theater to come back afterwards. So in my mind, it was always going to be under that threshold because anything above 3 is you got.
I feel like they should experiment with that. That would sell more concessions for the movie theater, would it not?
Yeah, but then the turnaround for the theater, you could show only 2 of those a day.
Oh, okay, yeah. That would be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah, because normally right now they a lot of the studios are fighting against these movies being shorter because it's just how many times can you play in the theater per day. So the theaters, especially, you know, that the first few weeks the theaters don't really make that much money. It's later on they make it. So it's in their prerogative to kind of jam as many people as they can to watch it because, you know, you got to clean that theater up. So
yeah. I was surprised, but we're going to move on. Today news dropped, and I wanted to bring this up because we actually covered this when we did our 80s action movie bracket. We had watched and reviewed Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. And during that time, John and I, we were talking about how we weren't really fans of the third one. Like, you realize we watched the third one even though it was into the 90s, but we had watched it and it was just pretty atrocious. Well, we got news today that Beverly Hills Cop 4 is happening. It is happening with Paramount and Netflix, and Eddie Murphy is reprising his role as Aquel Foley. So I don't know what your thoughts are on this, John, because we both liked number 1. I liked number 2 quite a bit. I think you were a little bit lukewarm to number 2. You still liked it, but not as much as the first. And number 3 was just a pant load.
The first one is better. Yeah. Number 3, I do own on Laserdisc. I thoroughly enjoyed it when I was a kid.
Right.
But on the rewatch, it is definitely not up to snuff with the first 2.
No, it's a shit show. So are you excited for a number 4, which is going to be like 30 years after the last one?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Axel Foley, number 1. Beverly Hills Cop, number 1, I think, would make my cut for top 10, maybe even top 5 movies of all time for myself. So I definitely want to see Eddie Murphy do the role at least. I'll take a couple more times. Throw a couple of them. Try a kid-friendly one. Try a rated R one. Try an animated one. Do whatever you want. Get this character back out there.
All right, Stu?
No, John. Do you remember they've tried this sequel 3 separate times? They had a movie.
They had a
written
TV show lined up at one point.
They had a TV show. They have tried several times to do this, and if it's anything like Coming to America 2, I want no part of it.
Already, I haven't watched it. I'm scared to watch that movie.
Do not. It's bad. It's so bad. At this point, rewatching, and I watched it when you guys were doing the Sidekick show, when Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2 has a special moment in my heart. Part 3 is really bad, but I remember watching it so much as a kid because, you know, when they go to that gun show and there's a special gun and he uses the rocket launcher and like that, there's a scene in Movie World or wherever they go to, it's like, well, it's funny. But really, the movie is so bad that you should never go back to it. And I just don't think that Eddie Murphy's mentality, it's like watching Delirious again. You can't do it, man. You can't do it. Or Raw. Like, I think that time has passed, and let's just move away from it and not worry about it because
I don't know. Eddie's working on a new stand-up act. I think, like, if you listen to his interviews, he's ready to.
Eddie's been talking about that for 30 years, man.
Well, you know, pandemic.
Did you watch him on Saturday Night Live, John? Because we were talking about maybe go back to Saturday Night Live was the pinnacle. That's it. He came back, did Saturday Night Live. It was amazing. He did Gumby. He did all the old shticks, and that was it. I don't need him anymore. Like, he did Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. He did all the things, and then we realized it's kind of like, you know, old guys come out and do the same tricks where you could be, you know, Billy Crystal doing his old sketches, and you're like, no, this is not good. Or Dan Aykroyd doing the old fish thing where he throw like old SNL bits. No, let's just let these, you know, cows pasteurize out there and carry on.
Well, I've got bad news for you, Stu, because Dan Aykroyd is doing Coneheads too. Just kidding.
And to Gord's plot thing out there, yes, I'm well aware people would go watch tickets and go to a theater, but the difference is in a theater you pay $90 or $180 in a mezzanine to watch live theater, and you're paying $15 to watch a movie in the theater. So it's not the same overhead. So you just unless you jack up the price to make Denis Villeneuve's movie $30. So. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to bring up, guys, is the elephant in the room. And I'm not talking about John's looking to see what's around. What did my wife leave behind that I could get in trouble for? I'm talking about your pal and mine, Peter Parker. So huge news kind of dropped out late last night, well before John's bedtime, but maybe past Andre's bedtime, with respect to the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer leaking. Now, I'm not going to go into any of the details on, you know, maybe people in the comments, if you've watched it, please don't post anything about what you saw. However, it was out there, and it was, I feel bad for the guy. There's obviously a dude who was a source for a scooper, and he sent this scooper a video, an iPhone shot footage of this trailer, and then that dude grabbed it and put it online, and so it went viral, and then of course some other pictures started coming out. So the trailer is out there. There was 2 versions. One was where the VFX were not completed, and one where it was. So all that to say is it was quickly pulled down. Well, quickly, within a few hours, it was pulled down last night as much as it possibly could. But a quick cursory search of Twitter, if you did it right now, you'd see it was still on there. That being said, right now, in about 45 minutes, CinemaCon kicks off. And that will be at about 6 p.m. in the Pacific. And that is where they were going to be showing the first No Way Home trailer. We talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago, John, in the news, and we said we might not even get it because Disney said, no, we're only showing it at CinemaCon. It's not going online after that.
I think not do that. I think,
well, now the rumor, I guess, according to multiple sources, is stay by your phones, kids. By about 9 to 9:30 tonight, we should have the official trailer dropping for Marvel for Spider-Man No Way Home. So my question to you, my esteemed colleagues, is this. Is this the most anticipated trailer in recent, like let's go in the last 5 years, in recent memory for a movie coming out? Is it the most anticipated, or was it Endgame? Was Endgame the most anticipated? What do you think, Stu?
It's got to be Endgame because it was a culmination of bunch of storylines and whatnot. I think this phenomenon of Spider-Man is what you've both described very much in previous podcasts. It's like the movie theater experience. We haven't seen a new trailer for a Marvel movie that's fresh in a long time. and we've heard the rumors. All the actors are like, "Oh, I'm in this movie." "Oh, wait, I'm not in this movie." It's like, well, we know you're here. We just want to know what you look like, because we all know what Willem Dafoe looks like. We know what Jamie Foxx looks like. We know what Alfred Molina looks like. So we know what these characters look like. So we're just waiting to see whether they're going to be a little bit different. And the 2 rumors of the additional Spider-Man. So yeah, I think we're just a lot of thirst right now, and we just want to know. But that first trailer, thinking about Endgame and what was going to happen, and when you saw all the trailer, which is a lot of it was fake after the fact, we're all in Wakanda running around doing stuff, and Thanos and that stuff, that was crazy, including both Endgame and Infinity Wars. Both trailers were just huge.
John, is this the most anticipated trailer in recent memory? This Spider-Man No Way Home?
I think they've cried cried wolf too many times and thrown too many misdirects and stuff like that, and they've also kind of missed their window, because we had that bombshell of an ending for the last Spider-Man movie. How long ago was that movie now, and how far has passed? And then they did the whole Spider-Man's not going to happen. It kind of like they faked everybody out so many times that maybe, like, personally, I didn't really care if we saw this trailer or not anytime soon.
Well, looks like your wishes will not be granted, because we will be seeing it quite soon. So that's it for the news, guys. I'm going to keep my eye on the feed tonight, and if it happens to drop during the show, I will let you guys know. But here we are.
Fun drinking game. Every time Rob looks down on his phone, usually he's watching something ahead of time.
I have my tablet here. Yeah, it's true.
Every
just do this and
Rob
don't
just look down and not be engaged. I'm like, oh, he's watching the trailer for something, and then it's just that.
And then I'll say, oh, guys, guess what just happened to come out? The trailer for this new movie. Like, oh, really? Have you seen it? I'm like, yeah, I just watched it.
yeah. So don't worry. Both John and I will carry the ship forward. But it's just, the trailer is gonna be fine. It's, I think they were all talking about, even in the first trailer, you wouldn't even see the OGs in this first trailer. So this first trailer is just essentially, what we know of the bad guys, and the next trailer will be the epic triumphant trailer, although pictures also dropped of people, of the 2 of them in costume as well. So stay off the internet if you don't want to see that too. Yep.
All right.
So this is a Deadpool situation, John. Someone leaked it, and now they have to
now they have to follow. Yeah.
All right, John.
Cool. That's it. John, over to you, buddy.
Yeah, okay. So that wraps up our news. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I know you are all eagerly waiting for us to get to the man Wesley Snipes and Blade. So they did drop the movie came out in 4K about 10 months ago. So they did drop a 1-minute trailer. I'm going to warm us up, and we're going to play that 1-minute trailer in case you haven't seen the movie in a while and you're just joining us and you're running it off memory or whatever. So let's do a little kind of mini trailer reaction to this newest, I guess this would be the newest trailer for Blade 1, a movie that came out back in 1998. So thank you, everybody. let's watch this and get into it.
In a world.
In a world.
Vampires. They're everywhere.
You're one of them, aren't you?
No. I'm something else.
That's him!
Blade is the key. All our strengths. None of our weaknesses.
There are worse things out tonight than vampires.
Like what?
Like me. He makes the weapons. I use them. This open season all suckers.
Let's do this.
Wow, that looked clean. Rob, do you own a 4K copy of this movie?
No, I have a 4K TV, but a 4K Blu-ray player is ridiculously stupid, so I will not be. It's
really?
Stupid expensive. Although I wonder if iTunes has it in 4K.
Maybe you can stream it.
But
let's go. Let's talk Blade. So, Blade released
Oh
in
my
August
gosh! I just
21st,
noticed sunglasses.
1998.
Oh, God.
I can't see anything.
Wow.
I can't see anything. Anyways,
Wow.
Blade released August 21st, 1998. So we are like 2 days off of its anniversary, which is kind of crazy. Complete fluke, by the way. I would like to say we planned it that way, but complete fluke. Budget of 45 million, box office 131.2 million. So definitely a smash. But rating wise, I pulled the Rotten Tomatoes rating. It's only 54%. And the Metacritic rating is at 45. So it's kind of crazy that the critics really dislike this. The user scores obviously are higher. Rotten Tomatoes 78%, Metacritic 8.7. I don't know why they rate it out of 10 for the users and then out of 100 for the critics. It's bonkers. But so let's talk Blade. How did you originally see Blade, and what are your thoughts overall on this rewatch? Rob, you want to go first?
You know, I remember seeing, so first of all, okay, I'm just going to say, I just quickly checked. If you do want the 4K version, you can get it through iTunes. It's $10 right now. Okay. I watched this movie in theaters in 1998. I was a young, dashing 22-year-old romantic hopeful who was, I think I might have been high when I went and saw this. I love my
all
weed.
your movie going stories start.
Yes, Spawn. I was baked out of my brain.
We might have been high.
I was tripping balls. So this movie was great. I went to the theater. I really enjoyed it. I went in knowing that it was a comic book property. It was an IP. But Wesley Snipes was like the height of his popularity at that moment. I was a big fan of New Jack City. I was very excited to see this. I couldn't give two shits about Steven Dorff, but the movie overall, like going into it, I couldn't care. The movie overall was exciting and fun. I've watched this movie a number of times. I think we discussed this last year. There's a handful of those movies that you can throw in at any time and watch and enjoy it. You can spend your 90 minutes and feel like you haven't wasted it on anything. We see a lot of shit that we've wasted time on. Like, I can't believe we wasted 90 minutes on that, or 2 hours. This is a movie that no matter how many times you've seen it, you're going to continuously go back and see it. I feel that this movie still holds up. The only thing that takes you out of it is the dated visual effects. But even still, a 24-year-old movie is still showing some of these more recent movies how to do a good action movie. I understand that it doesn't skew or adhere to the comic character as much as maybe some people would have liked. But this is one of those movies that, even though it's based on comic character, people don't really seem to nitpick at the story it tells. As far as I'm concerned, this laid the foundation for what we got with Fox and the X-Men movies, which people then say the Fox X-Men movies are what helped born the current modern day MCU. But you don't get X-Men if you don't get Blade, which made a huge amount of money. Like, John, you already rifled off the amounts. It made a ton of money at the box office for its time. And so rewatching now, I get a lot of
nothing before, right?
Yeah,
they
Marvel had
that weirdo Fantastic Four movie that didn't come out.
Yeah, the Roger Corman Fantastic Four. You had the Albert Pune Captain America. You had Dolph Lundgren starring as the Punisher. You had David Hasselhoff was Nick Fury on the TV show. You just came off like 10 years earlier on 3 Incredible Hulk movies that were made for NBC with Thor and Daredevil. Like, Marvel had nothing. And so New Line had this property and said, hey, listen, we're going to make this movie. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it was. And I really think that if you are a comic book fan, you owe it to yourself to have this movie in your collection. And if you don't, I don't know what's wrong with you. If you just want a good action flick, then you owe it to yourself to have this movie fan. If you are one of the people who likes watching vampire movies or horror movies around Halloween, this is one of those ones that you have to have. Like, I feel like this movie kind of transcends the different genres, is applicable to many, many different people. So overall, I really enjoyed this movie then. I really enjoy it now. I love watching it. And I know that Stu's got a lot he's wanting to say.
Yeah. Stu, I know you're a little bit more critical of movies than myself and maybe Rob. Yep. So the low scores on Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic. What did you feel? How did you see this in theaters? I know you're younger, so did you sneak into this?
I did sneak into it. I am younger.
That's how every Stu story starts. We snuck into this movie.
It was it's not as good as my brother and Mike's story where they went to see, this is a tangent, they heard a rumor, kids, that a trailer was going to come out, and back in the day you couldn't see trailers on the internet, you had to go to the movie theater.
Yeah,
so they heard the rumor that Star Wars Episode 1 was going to be playing in the movie of You Got Mail. So they snuck it, like they paid to watch You Got Mail, and then they're like, well, there's no trailer. I was like, I guess we'll stay here and watch the movie. And they ended up watching the rest of the Tom Hanks movie. So shout outs to Mike and Bri for that one. But yes, I as well, Blade was rated R. I snuck into the movie with Mike. I think we bought tickets at Martville Mall. I think we might have tried to buy tickets for Ever After, and we snuck into Blade instead, because that was the Drew Barrymore vehicle, which was like Cinderella. So we snuck in, watched it, had a great time when we watched it initially. I watched it last night really critically, and the first time in a long time with my wife. She, in fact, had never seen it because she was a good person to sneak into a movie. Why would she sneak into a movie, watch a movie like Blade? She's a reasonable person. I am not. And she was kind of on her phone a lot. So
really,
she was not really. She's like, yeah, it's kind of thing. And then and then the very end, she's like going like, what's happening? And I'm like, yeah, exactly, what's happening. A lot of things didn't really make sense. I think I guess the plus of this movie is that there are aspects of this movie that still hold up to Rob. It's like they stayed away from CGI because of budget. So a lot of the smoke stuff worked in their favor. We'll talk about some of the other things that would have happened at the end if they had more of a budget, and it really would have turned into an Aliens 3 situation where it's almost unwatchable. So, yeah, it's okay. I would buy the DVD, like, even though I'm a big Marvel guy, and I'm like, yeah, it's. I don't even know what's the best of the 3 Blade movies, just in terms of just pure entertainment. Like, if you just want to, like, as Andre said too, like Fast Furious, each one just gets more ridiculous and more fun. I think each one after Blade 2 gets ridiculous and more action and more ridiculousness. And then Blade 3 does it even more. So it just keeps on amping up kind of the villains and amping up the action. But it does a good job of world building. There's a lot of cool things I mentioned.
The entire first half, I think, is really strong.
It's like if I had to rank it in the MC, if I had to add this to an MCU chart, it'd probably be in the middle. So it wouldn't be the top, wouldn't be the bottom, it'd be smack dab in the middle. So yeah.
Yeah, I think this one is also one of those movies that nostalgia is going to fuel a lot of a pumped rating. Like especially the entire first half is really strong. The last half, where it feels like they ran out of money to disintegrate all those vampires, and they start cutting away whenever he kills somebody, is really apparent on the rewatch. But man, Wesley Snipes looks really good in this movie. So let's talk a little bit about the cast. So let's talk Wesley Snipes. Like I was thinking about it, and as far as action heroes go, Wesley Snipes was a pretty, like, as far as our action stars of that era, he was pretty up there. I feel like he could act pretty well and well enough, and actually could probably had another level that he probably could have got to if he went to the more serious side instead of doing all the actioners. And he was incredibly skilled. So this was those times where what we're seeing now with John Wick and all those kind of things where actors are actually training to basically become these characters. Wesley Snipes, I felt like could definitely walk the walk. Rob, how do you feel about Wesley Snipes in this movie?
In this movie, I think this is the role that defined him as an actor. I think if people, I think if people think of Wesley, I'm not saying it's right. I think if you say Wesley Snipes, the first thing that comes in your head is going to be Blade. If you are familiar with the property, is it right or wrong? It's not for me to say, but I think that is what most people, you know, if you look at the news when he went to jail for the tax evasion stuff, it always said Wesley Snipes actor, and they would put Blade in brackets. They put Blade, white man can't jump. Blade is going to be the thing that, you know, when he eventually shuffles off this mortal coil, it will say the Blade will be the first clip that they show of him. This is the role that people associate with him first and foremost, right or wrong, and that's this reality of things. But I don't know about if he was a great action star, John. I don't know if he got the right vehicles for himself. I mean, he had the Passenger 57.
He had the tools though. He had the package. Like
Demolition
he was
Man.
good to go.
Yeah, Demolition Man.
57.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of random action movies that he was in, and then he also did. We'll talk about it at the end with Wesley Snipes' best roles, but to your point, Rob, he was so into character that the Ryan Reynolds would talk about later on that he was in Blade character the entire time. And to this day, Ryan Reynolds does not believe he's ever had a proper conversation with Wesley Snipes.
That's Patton Oswalt.
Oh, is that Patton?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's Patton Oswalt who had a really big long comedy bit about the fact that he's actually never spoken to Wesley Snipes, despite spending all that time with him. Yeah.
So, but I think definitively he's the kind of the Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man of this. He's built this, and because it's been out of the consciousness for so long, luckily we'll get a new Blade and maybe a different perspective. Because as much as we like the kind of goofiness / he kind of is the outside. I guess Kevin Feige's like, watch Superman, but Blade is kind of also that action star, but also has a little bit of humor. Although the humor at times is not funny, I think Scott shouted out the quote from last week from a Blade quote, and we all looked at it going, "Oh yeah, that was in the movie," but it wasn't really a funny moment. It was just something he just said, and we're like, "Oh, that's weird."
No, his delivery in comedy is not there. Like he doesn't have the ability to do comedy. I think the funniest line.
He can do comedy. He's just not in Blade form. So, but yeah, I think he did the martial arts really well, and he played Blade as a unique character, and really that's all you need Blade to be at this current moment in time. So yeah, I agree with you. It's in the Rolodex when you think of Wesley Snipes. It's like, oh yeah, Blade. He played that, but I don't know if it'll have the longevity in some of the other movies that he's been in. So yeah.
Okay, so before I move on to other casts too, I wanted to throw something random at you. Alternate casting. So not for Blade, but for Star Trek. Originally, Wesley Snipes tried out for the Geordi LaForge role. Yeah. So in some bizarro world, Wesley Snipes was Geordi LaForge. Do you think in this same bizarro world, LeVar Burton was Blade?
No. What's exactly what in both?
You couldn't go reading Rainbow to like kill him.
No, you can't do both. No, you can't do. No, LeVar Burton has a brand, and he can't do that.
How do you think Wesley Snipes would have done as Geordi LaForge?
Amazing! He would have been the best.
Yeah,
he would have brought a weird cadence and like weird kind of personality to it. I'm all about that. Geordi was a little too much of a nerd. I would have been fine with the new mixture. He would have made that interaction with Data much more interesting. Like he would have been that cool friend. Like, the point.
I think Wesley Snipes, honestly, and I'm not trying to be an ass, I think he would have been fired by season 3. I think that Wesley Snipes might be a bit of a difficult individual.
Well, he was like, he got in a police chase on a motorcycle or something at one point in his career. So yeah, he might have had his own problems or struggles. The rest of the cast, Rob, you've already mentioned Stephen Dwarf. You could live without.
Not Dwarf, Stephen Dorff.
Dwarf. Yeah. It's so close.
One has a W and one doesn't.
John Bo.
I would go by John Bo. Almost like Tybo, but John Bo. I'll create a new style.
All right,
Sarah,
we're gonna call you John Bo from
John Bo. So Rob, I don't know if you wanted to speak on him as the villain of this film, or if there's anyone else in the cast maybe you would prefer.
You know what? I'll very quickly. I'll just say that. Listen, I don't have a hate on for Stephen Dorff. I just don't think he's. He's not a villain. He doesn't.
I disagree.
Okay. I think that he's probably one of the weaker, aside from Blade's mom. I think this guy is like the weakest part of the movie. Stephen. I do. I think that. I didn't buy him as a villain. However, I will say Chris Christopherson as Whistler That's my jam. He has the very funniest line in the entire movie when Blade talking about the UV light being too heavy, and he's like, "But you're so big." Like that. If there's any comedy in the in this movie, it's right there in those four words. So I think that Chris Christopherson played a great whistler. I always confused him with Kenny Rogers as a kid growing up. It's old white guys.
Kenny Rogers have done this role in his prime day.
Sure, old guy with a beard. Sam, what's his face with the big mustache? Sam.
I think we have to be very careful. I disagree with Rob in terms of Stephen Dorff. Actually, I think that Stephen Dorff did yeoman's work. He was supposed to be the juxtaposition of the other more traditional purebred vampires. So here's this guy who speaks totally different from the rest of them, who acts differently, who has a different swagger, who has a confidence to him. And yeah, it's a little bit over the top, but compared to the stiffs of the Europeans and all the people that are like, oh yes, we are here with the Blade of the vampires, like he was kind of really to show the new school vampire of the half-breeds and people that try to usurp the old culture. This is pretty much the 1% versus the 99 versus the 1%. And really, if you look at Marvel villains as a whole, like, is he that worse than Ronan the Accuser or Malekith? Like, there are so many more just underutilized villains.
I think
no excuse, because it's 2005, 2006. Like, these villains, like or Taskmaster, or whatever, any of the villains in Black Widow. At least I have an idea of what Stephen Dorff wants to do.
But
although
I think
computer tech was really interesting. Rob, sorry to interrupt. It's like, he had this weird program that he was able. I'm like, wow. Yeah. Back then they had some good tech.
Yeah. They were deciphering ancient text.
Like, wow. Like, I didn't know we had computer systems like that back then. And the 3D rendering of the cave. But yeah, like, really at the end of the day, it's like he was doing a job which is a typical villain. And compared to a lot of Marvel villains, he's not Thanos or Loki, but he's way better than a lot of the other ones. The other ones were even worse.
Listen, I will concede that I think he did what he played the role with how it was written, and I don't necessarily blame him completely for it. That being said, it is a sign of the times. This is at the end of like the grunge era. This is 1998. Grunge had ended around 96 or so. This is still he's still feeding off of all those movies, and his personal life were all still feeding off of the reality bites, trying to be the new age bad boy, hanging with the Johnny Depps and Winona Ryders and stuff like that. And I think he parlayed that persona into this character of Deacon Frost. And I just think that's when I watch it, unfortunately for me, I'm thinking about how Stephen Dorff was in the late 90s. And he's just being Stephen Dorff with, pastel paint on his face. Like that's, so that's why. But
it was Twilight before Twilight.
But in all fairness, I have recollection of that because I'm that much older than Stu. He's already made that that comment. So
as Rob is like, I should have been there in Reality Bites. That was me. That was my life that Stephen Dorff took from me. That guy. So that's really.
I was the Ethan Hawke in Reality Bites.
100. Everyone from that time period is like, I'm the guy. Reality. Anyways, so yeah, it's he didn't have much to work with. He did what he was supposed to do, and even now, like I said before, he's. Again, compared to a lot of other Marvel villains, at least he had something to do. He had a plan. He executed it. So, yeah.
For some reason, I thought he actually had more screen time. But on the rewatch, I guess
it's the right
amount.
Have
as much as I remembered.
Leave people wanting more. Just like what Rob said, I concur with everything that Chris Christopherson. He's perfect in this film. As we talked before, my love for Donald Logue. Even when my wife is like, "Oh, there's your boy, Donald Logue," I'm like, "Ottawa's own." Boop, boop. He had a couple fun scenes in it, a lot more graphic scenes I remember when I was a kid, especially in the rave. I'm like, wow, they're going for things in this rave that I didn't realize as a kid. So that was something different as well.
The rave was crazy. So I'm gonna go.
Clearly, he's not paying attention, which is why I make these things, and he
paying attention.
A bigger face about some of the rave scenes. But yes, John,
Yeah,
carry on.
I love the rave
I'm
scene.
gonna get to the rave scenes in a second. I just want to shout out Gordon and Sarah. They're talking a little bit about Wesley Snipes' fighting style in this. And he was, I believe Wesley Snipes is a Shotokan karate expert, which is a style that actually kind of faded away and got replaced by like kung fu and a lot of the flashier styles. But he made it look good. I thought he made it look really good. So I just want to shout that out before we move on. So let's talk about our favorite scenes. So I just wanted to shout out that rave scene obviously is probably going to be one of the definitely up for grabs for the best moment in the movie. But I wanted to ask you guys during the rave, you see Kenny Johnson, who's the young man getting into the rave, and all these things kind of point to, what are you doing, dude? The girl is very aggressive with him. So sure, maybe he likes an aggressive woman, and then he goes through a meatpacking plant. Okay, yeah, that's a little crazy. And then when he gets into the rave, people are just trashing him. He's getting shoved to the ground, all this kind of stuff. And then at one point, something falls from the ceiling onto his hand. So you guys, if you went to a rave, I didn't go to very many raves, or I don't think I've been to any raves unless I don't remember it. But if you got some weird random red liquid on your hand, would you A, give it a whiff, B, wipe it off, or C, what the character does? He takes it and he puts it in his mouth. Is that something you would ever do?
No, it's red. Like, I grew up, listen.
Could be Kool-Aid. Could be the Kool-Aid guy. Oh yeah, just break through the wall and Kool-Aid's there.
Yeah, no, I'm with John. If something red drops on your hand, you're not like, oh.
Let me taste this.
Yeah. Like, that just seems like, where do you think it came from, dumbass? Like, at the very least, you're on the ground. It could be somebody's sweat from their hair. Like, that would be the most logical thing because you're on the ground, right? So
that time period, there's a lot of red dye in people's hair. There's a lot of frosted tips, my friends.
Yeah, so I had frosted tips too. So
of course you did. And a puka necklace.
Everybody start dropping your favorite scenes.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I wouldn't have tasted it, John. Definitely not.
So go ahead with your favorite scene then, Rob, or favorite moment, or.
Well, it's really hard because that entire rave scene sets up the.
It's hard to top. It's hard to top with such a strong opening, and it's the scene that everyone's going to remember. When you think Blade 1, you think of that rave scene. Like, you don't think of the ending where he goes through a whole tower of dudes. It's the rave scene.
Well, and I think people don't rethink of it because yes, the end scene where he is fighting off all those guys is a lot of fun. But I think it's the payoff is what kind of takes people's brain away from thinking of it. I'm going to go with the subway, the whole battle with the subway stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. Like when he slices off Donald Logue's arm again, he's like, "God, fucker took off my hand again," like that, right? Like, and then he hops onto the back of the speeding subway, and his arm gets dislocated and stuff. I mean,
very questionable CG at that point as well, too.
Yeah, it's definite green screen. I guess it's a bit of a cop out because I got to say, like, my instinct is always to go with. But there is that scene on the rooftop where he's running, he's being chased by the cops. I guess that's just following the hospital. If I remember correctly, he breaks into the hospital, right, to kill Donald Logue. So I you know what, I'd probably say that would be my. And then the cops start shooting at him, and he's like shocked, like, what the hell, like, is this motherfucker? I'm on, like, what are you doing, like that, right?
That was almost like a Black Panther moment. When in Civil War they start shooting Black Panther, and he's just like, what?
Yeah,
and then, I think Blade. I think he says, motherfucker, what are you thinking, or something like that?
And then so I would probably just have to and then change my answer. That would probably be my favorite scene. Crispy Man takes off running, he goes after them, the cops chase Blade, and you see him jump over the skyline, and again, you could say questionable CGI because you could tell what they did. I mean, he was on a wire harness, and the camera actually pans and scans because they didn't have enough processing power to make one wide shot, right? So it was a pan and scan of him jumping over the building. But I thought that was a lot of fun, right? So
how about the dislocated shoulder pop in? Is that better or worse than Lethal Weapon?
Worse. Lethal Weapon was better because he had to pop it in himself. The other time he had the nurse, he had Karen helping him pull it back, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, Gord's got the line here. He says, Motherfucker, you out of your damn mind?
Oh God.
I can't do it.
No, Don, no.
Go ahead, Stu. What's your favorite?
It's
scene?
the rave scene without a doubt. It is the Copacabana scene from Goodfellas, where that is just you remember that scene from Goodfellas more than anything else. The one top shot. So the Blade, it sets everything up as him as a character. The vampires, kind of a little disorganized at him fighting the people, but I guess he was just there for Quinn and not to kill the other vampires. But it is the best scene. It's the most iconic,
and he gets to use everything. He gets.
You talked about it numerous times, Tom. Where like the scene with Blade and the thing in the nightclub and like the clubbing. It's like, okay, yeah, it's the one. So no need to talk about anything else. Carry on.
I'll shout out a couple of
John,
scenes.
what's your favorite scene, buddy? Even though Stu's shooting you down.
I'll cover my favorite like moment, but I'm gonna go through some of the comments here. So Gordon mentions the scene where he rides in on the motorbike and f's up all those guards, and then he does blow away the one guard. The guard's like, "I just work for them." I'm like, "Well, too bad, buddy. That's what you get."
Yeah.
Let me see if there's any other ones. Burnt guy, yeah. I don't think anyone else is dropping. I think the rave scene is just too strong. The scene that I'm gonna shout out that I really love. And every time I watch this movie, I love watching this scene, is the scene where Whistler goes to refuel Blade's Charger, and he just takes the gasoline and it's pouring out like crazy. So I don't know if it was a miss, like an error or like the prop went wrong, and it just goes everywhere. And then he takes a lighter and lights a cigarette like right next to it. And I remember the theater going, "What the F are you doing, man?" So I don't. Just for some reason, and Whistler just kills it every scene he gets. One of the other scenes is where he saves Wesley Snipes, and he's like, "Catch you motherfuckers at a bad time" or something. And and literally just one-handedly blows away everybody. There's a lot of guys just standing here waiting to get shot in this movie. Especially in a motorcycle scene that Gord mentioned as well. All those guys just stand there for Blade to mow them down with those Mac 10s.
Chris Christopherson's role was so beloved and so integral that
they brought him back.
They forced to bring him back into the second movie. Yeah, I will say there's that scene though in the daylight where Deacon Frost lifts up the little girl, like that looked like that. Those are practical effects. I mean, we know how the way it was shot looked really well. And then throwing her across into the bus stop in the glass, and she's in the middle of the road, like, and seeing Blade hopping across, like,
when he goes to save her, there's clearly an adult stunt person that has taken the place.
Because she's no longer
a gigantic person.
At any rate.
All right, so I'm gonna, my next question. Thanks everybody for your favorite scenes. I think we'll keep going if we can just recap the whole movie. It's a lot of fun, but definitely the rave scene I think is going to take the top spot. There's no getting around it. If you only have time to watch 10 minutes of this movie, you're going to watch that opening introduction of Blade. And if you go on YouTube, I bet you every clip is just Blade rave fight. That's all the hits. So I'm taking something from Stu's book here. When they talked about James Bond, they talked about James Bond and his gadgets. So Blade is very Bond-like with all his different gadgets and things that he uses. I'm gonna stay with me here. So Blade has all these accessories. So I want you to just kind of pick maybe your favorite accessory. So he's got all his weapons. He's got the swords, the guns, the stakes, the UV light. He has also the outfit, the really pimp outfit with the combat vest. And he also has a casual version of that same outfit that he wore out to the park to meet Deacon Frost, which is kind of funny. He has the car. He has the 68 Charger. And then he has Whistler as his Q, his man of technology. And then he also has this other bonus thing, which is the serum, the gimmick of the serum that he is addicted to the serum. And then later he gets the explodey version of the serum. Do you have a favorite Blade accessory, Rob?
The car.
yeah, you like the Charger?
Yeah, the Charger. I mean, the sword is cool. If with the timer, if you don't click off the button, especially when the idiot is like, "I've got his pig sticker," like that, and it explodes. His hand, gets torn off. That was the one thing though, the logic, like it why did that not disintegrate his entire body, just his hand? Because if you just stab the guy or cut them, his entire body goes like it would seem.
No, but
it
you
seems
that in the heart or in the head.
That's what I was saying. It has to go through the heart, I guess.
Yeah,
There you go. Has to go in the heart and the head. So that,
yeah. So I'm gonna go. If I can only pick one, I'm gonna go with the car. The car is very iconic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the rumor has it that car hasn't been seen since 2006 when it was sold at some auction for $40K USD. So maybe that is going to cameo in the new movie. I don't know. Stu, do you have a favorite accessory of Blade's?
The car.
Car hands down. None of you guys like those modified Mac 10s he had with all the extra hardware around it?
No, this is generic, like military. Like the car is the cool thing because again, like John, that car is very unique. It's not like you can just go to your local store and melt it down and just make some weapons. Like either you have the car, or you don't have the car. So it is awesome.
And the UV light is only beneficial for that one scene with Pearl.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if Pearl wasn't there, the UV light would be useless.
He shined it in people's faces to blind them.
He blinded me with science.
Right. It seemed like UV light didn't kill vampires as fast as you would think. So even if one was about to pounce on him and he whipped it out, I don't think it would have made a difference. So you're right. Using it on a completely stationary character like that Pearl character it's one application. And where was he carrying it the whole time? Did he have to go get it from the car to bring it? Yeah. He didn't have a backpack. He had the sword.
No, didn't Karen have a backpack? Karen had a bag. Karen had a bag.
Yeah,
she was sling and she was carrying stuff in it. So he got around it by having Karen holding it instead. Yeah. So she's like, I'm not holding it. Karen will hold it. So that was that.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually kind of felt like she was like I felt like she was very weak in this movie. Like I just felt it was.
Man, she came with a cure. She cured herself. She held the flashlight.
But I felt like it just.
She's not brought back for any other movie.
Blood to Blade when necessary. She did the important lifting, man. When Blade was about to die, like he would have just died without blood. So you're wrong, Rob. Carry on, John.
So yeah, in the comments, everybody's talking about the Charger. So 10-second car, the Charger. I didn't do any research on it, but I don't know if you guys noticed. It is recorded as a 68 Charger. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure none of you are. The round tail lights, I believe, are from a 70s Charger, a 72 maybe. So it's kind of weird that it had the round headlights in the back instead of the strip. Anyways,
this Car Minute brought to you by John Bow. John Bow with Car Minute.
John Bow. Kick it like John Bow. Sarah shouts out Blade's tactical vest, which I thought was really cool. Had the random buckles on it and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, has a combat version and a casual version. Stop. People shout out the magical shotgun, which seemed to reload itself and reload stakes into itself. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, he never ran out. Like he had those stakes around his thighs, never used them.
Technically, you just have to. Does the stake have to stay inside the body for them to explode? Or
I was like, why aren't you taking?
Yeah, it's very weird.
Remember the one where he stabs the guy, he disintegrates, and then he pulls it out and stabs the other guy with it. So I guess
there's a couple where he just stabs the guy on the ground, and at the end scene, there's a guy that he stakes and he doesn't disintegrate, so he just killed a regular dude, and just left him there.
It's hard to tell. Yeah.
A bunch of guys shout out the throwing knife boomerang thing in my bobber. We actually used to have these replicas at the shop back in the day when this movie first came out, or sometime after. So we did have the sword, we did have the scabbard.
Yep.
And I remember it was impossible to get that sword into the scabbard. But I do regret not keeping it. And then we did have that throwing star thing.
Well, it was impossible. That's why they actually shot him doing it in slow motion for them to speed up the frame. That's why when he does it, and every time I see this dude, even the clip that you played tonight on the trailer, he does the same thing. He does it too fast to put it in. It's because he actually had to do it very slow to reach up to get it in. And if you look at Karen, she moves a little bit, and she gives away the fact that it's. I mean, you can tell that the frame's been sped up, but she does something that her body moves, and it's very obvious. It makes it super obvious if you focus on her.
If you want any of the behind the scenes stuff of them doing the stunts and stuff, you can see that they cheat it. It's actually only held on by the top part. Yeah, they kind of flip it forward for him to take it in and out. So it'd be flopping all over the place.
Just like John on prom night.
Yeah, exactly. There was no prom night reference in this movie. Last movie we watched, Wrath of Man, had one of those prom night jokes. This movie did not. So we should start recording.
You know why? Because Blade didn't get to go to prom, John. Way to be a party pooper.
Oh my god! All right, so Gordon does shout out the modified Mac 10s, which I thought are pretty cool. That's an accessory that a lot of people were making for action figures and stuff, and cosplay and all that stuff. I did want to mention a little bit about the costume. I think in the comic book, Blade didn't really have a definitive costume, and this movie kind of created his definitive look, which is the trench coat with some type of body armor. I think he used to just wear like leather jackets with stuff and things like that. So that's a neat thing that the
Spider-Man cartoon show. That's he didn't really have anything going on. I think he wore jeans and leather jackets. So
I'm actually going to disagree. Way to go. Sintaku said that trench coats were cool right before the Matrix. No, it was Columbine that ruined trench coats, my friend. So
Yep. All right, keep on going, John.
And purpose.
All right, so let's go into now instead of alternate casting, Stu has opted for a different option because we have the option for this movie. So we have an alternate ending for Blade. So I don't know if you guys watched it. It is on, if you have your DVD, it is on the DVD special features. I watched it way back in the day. So this is before the internet, folks.
Yes,
before the internet.
This is before David Goyer lost his hair.
So you could not see this. You could not watch Blade in theaters and then someone post an alternate ending or some during the film's YouTube promotion or whatever, you would get the alternate.
Yeah.
So the only way was to watch this alternate, the behind the scenes featurettes, which features a whole different ending. Stu, I don't know if you want to describe the different ending for us.
So the original ending is that Stephen Dorff's character was turned into the ether, basically a giant red blob that basically went around and fought Blade. So Stephen Dorff turned, instead of like the red eyes, it went red, and then he turned into a big like a red blob monster. And the CGI again was not great, but it was kind of the ether from Thor, the Dark World, and then Blade defeats him, and then Stephen Dorff turns back into himself and then dies. So that is the alternate ending.
Yeah. So the reasons why they didn't use it is one, budget, and two, I think during test screening or test audiences, they were like, "Oh, we want to keep a physical dude for him to fight," and I think it actually worked out for them better. Unless Rob, you have any reasoning that this would be a better?
In number 3, it looked like shit. Listen, I'm going to say this right off the bat. You know, I saw the alternate ending when I got that DVD. And I was so glad that they didn't do it. And then in retrospect, having rewatched that 14-minute, behind the scenes thing, and they do the blob stuff again, I'm so glad they didn't do it because it made me think of the missteps that the Green Lantern movie did by making Parallax the big giant cloud, and then making Galactus the cloud in the Fantastic Four movies, and just being like absolutely stupid. Like, you went so over the top, like you didn't need to have it like that. So I'm really glad that they didn't go that route, because I think that we all agree that the beginning of the movie is the strongest part of the movie, and there is obviously this natural descent, which is the opposite. Usually movies kind of ramp up towards the end. This is the opposite. But I think people would have that would have just been the game changer. I really honestly think that this movie would not remain in people's positive reviews if they had that ending, because that I think would have you would have been like, what the fuck have I just watched, right? So I'm glad that they had restraint. They had self-restraint to not go with that ending.
Yeah. So generally, we don't think that was it was actually if it was the budget constraint that caused them not to do it, they lucked out.
I think they lucked out.
Also, during these special features, it had what we are now all used to, which is an end credit, mid credit, whatever scene. So they showed it on the features. And Stu, I don't know if you want to describe what happens. They pan the camera over.
Yeah. So I was going to finish off that point before you jumped off, but now.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were actually going to put that point in.
No. The Blade. Yeah, we're lucky that they missed it, because again, if you didn't have the money, it was going to look real poor. And at the end of the day, to Rob's point, it just probably they're trying to appease Middle America. The focus group. 12 people brought together in some sort of Idaho theater and be like, what do you think of the red monster, Mr. Bo? Mr. Bo, do you think that the red monster was a good idea, or should we use a human? And then, Mr. Bo, what's your thoughts? You would, John, sir, when I say Mr. Bo and stamp your foot, you say
I'm Mr. Bo. No,
Yeah.
thank you. I wanted to fight a dude and stab him through the heart.
Well, let's listen. You can, if you go to where Deacon Frost gets cut in half and he separates and the blood coagulates and brings him back in. Right there, you're like, even by that standard, you're like, I mean, we came off of 1997 Spawn, and the special effects in Spawn were a bit kind of on the dice side, but for that time, you're okay. That one even then looked a little bit wonky. Imagine looking at it now, him being spread apart and coming back together was a bit bananas, and him forming his new hand. Yes, his hand. Yeah. But imagine that now, the entire thing that's like 18 feet tall, and then you see him going, "Hey, Blade, how are things going?" And he's talking.
That was what killed it. Yeah. They were obviously pre-VFX, but it looked funny. It was like him kind of like almost like a genie coming out.
Okay, so to John's point, there's a scene at the end where Karen and him come out of the tunnel. I was very confused. What city are they in? Are they in New York? Are they in Los Angeles?
I got really confused as well.
Where if they are in New York, where was this temple made in New York? Like, I was like, if this is in New York, what's that Asian vampire temple in the bottom of New York?
Wait a minute, you don't see oil derricks in the fields back off of Manhattan? Stu?
And then I was like, and then when they go to the beach, I'm like, wait, are they on the West Coast now? I'm like, is that New York State? Or like, it was really like, I'm like, they're in LA. I'm like, okay. Even then, I'm like, LA Temple. I'm like, wouldn't it be like? My wife was watching. She's like, oh yeah, it's like South American. I'm like, oh, maybe they're South America. I'm like, oh man. South America. That makes sense if the vampires, because La Magla, whatever the name of the thing was there. Oh, maybe they were in like Mexico, but no, it looks like East LA. But so they come out of this tunnel. Both Karen and Blade see this figure in the background, and she's like, "Oh, is that someone you know?" And there's this tall, dark man covered up
with another wavy jacket,
with a wavy jacket in the background, and we are led to believe that is Mobius, the living vampire. And that was going to be the light on the lantern for all you Lost fans for the next sequel. So that was going to be lined up and ready to go. Blade versus Mobius.
Yeah. So how would this have changed? The question is, how would this have changed the trajectory of 2 and possibly 3 if that would have happened? Would this have given Marvel an early start into this whole amalgamation of superhero characters? Rob, do you think they should have? I think during the interview they state that they wanted to make the movie self-contained and they didn't want to get cocky and
they didn't want to think.
Although every movie nowadays does it, they didn't want to do it. Yeah, Rob.
They didn't want to think about David. Yeah, the producers and all that. We never wanted to think further ahead because we didn't know if we were going to be lucky enough or fortunate enough to be able to play in the sandbox and have a sequel. So they didn't want to lay the foundation. Although I'm sure part of them kind of did. That being said, had they gone with the La Magra ending, there definitely would not have been a sequel. That would have been one and done. That would have been another pissed shot at another comic book movie we would not have gone.
And they just now Mobius thing.
Now if we had the Mobius thing, listen, I don't know Guillermo del Toro personally. We don't tweet. We haven't emailed each other.
You don't?
Nope. I haven't had the opportunity to share a croissant with him. But if I did, I said, hey, when you took over Blade 2, did you ever think of Mobius? I'm pretty sure he would have shot it down pretty quickly and said, no, we're not doing any of that. So they may have set him up. If they had set him up in the end of the first one, I'm pretty sure Guillermo would have said, nope, we're out, and would have not have carried that baton into the second. His sequel is very much independent of these other movies, except for the fact that they get Whistler back.
There's a comment from John. John, are you going to show your
John Lover? Is this an account made by somebody? But they're requesting to see. I don't think any of us are wearing specialist shirts. Like I'm wearing a Batman.
Stand up, John. Stand up, damn it. Dance,
are you wearing pants? Are you wearing pants?
I am wearing pants, and then it's got like I can't.
Oh, What?
Can you see the back?
No!
No, we saw the back of your chair.
There! It spins around!
You just did the voice. Congratulations.
Wow.
It just got ha 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 on
Rob,
the back.
can you, Rob,
Rob.
now go show Rob. Now show Rob. Rob, what's the word? Spider-Man.
It's funny what $2 can get you.
Amazing.
Oh my god! All right,
Amazing.
Stu's wearing his typical.
Yeah, I'm wearing a typical black Blade Manchester United T-shirt that symbolizes the love for my team, but also the sadness that is the League of European Football. Yeah, I love Guillermo del Toro.
Who made that account?
I love Blade too, but I kind of would have loved to see the Mobius Living Vampire, like if whether it were two of them classically come together as like we're gonna fight each other, and all of a sudden had to join forces to fight off, the big bad and Blade 2. That would have been super fun. So yeah, I would have loved to see it. Mobius Living Vampire would have been cool. It could have led to the Night Stalkers. It could have been a bunch of cool things, but we'll never know.
If you play your cards right, you might get to see Mobius sometime in 2023 on a streaming service near you.
They forgot about the movie, just like us.
Come out on Sony.
They forgot.
Yeah, it's gonna come out on Sony, and it's gonna as James Willems has a show called Mount Up for Mobius. He's been doing this Mobius countdown show for 2 years now. So let's just say I have a game that I'm going to steal from him that we're going to do next time we get together, because you'll be surprised. But yeah, there's it's.
I'm very surprised I've not seen Tyrese say something about this movie not coming out, because he is not the best with his social media and his feelings. So we'll see if that happens. So that's actually going to lead us into, there is a new Blade movie coming out. So maybe it'll be out before Mobius. So we'll see what happens. Maybe. And the question, these are all great questions by Stu, by the way. So you'll notice a definite upscale in the quality of questions at this portion of the show. So he was asking, what advice would you have for, I'm going to butcher his name, Mahershala Ali, who I just watched in the Green Book. It was fantastic fun. What advice would you give him for his new Blade movie, or what would you want to see in a new Blade movie? Rob, let's sorry, I'm going to rearrange everybody because now it's all wacky. Go ahead.
Well, you know what? I actually thought long and hard about this while you were actually asking the question. And my concern is that his performance will be compared to Wesley Snipes, and how do you make it distinctly yours without making it to be that you are essentially doing Wesley Snipes' version of Blade? And I think that's going to be a very difficult thing, because I don't know what the character is supposed to sound like. But from all intents and purposes, my understanding is that he's a brooding guy. He's angry. He's pissed off. He's a gravelly voice. How do you do that without making it, oh, you're just doing what Wesley Snipes did? So my advice to him would be good luck. Because I honestly don't know how
one of those
he
can't win situations.
Yeah. Oh, Stu has the answer.
But let's go with Stu. Stu, what is your advice to Mr. Ali?
My answer is he is already a tremendous actor. He's been nominated for numerous awards. He is missing the other aspect of Blade, which is the martial arts technique. He needs to go completely different. He needs to either do wushu or some sort of more fluid martial arts that's not the same as what Wesley Snipes. You mentioned it, John, very well already, that what Wesley Snipes' style, he needs to do more of a fluid martial art technique and integrate that to the repertoire, so that even his fight looks completely different than what Wesley Snipes would have done. More of an elegant sword swashbuckling type of, like that. That's the thing with the Asian martial arts, with the swords, like Crouching Tiger style, that you have just the sword going around more like a surgeon who's really cutting people through. Blade is a very kinetic, very force punching, but he just has to change it up. So really, when you do that all of a sudden also changes the way that you speak and the elegance of how you move forward. So also that makes him kind of already pushes his his physicality a different direction, and that will implement on his acting technique as well. Because you have the template of Blade. Blade, you know what he does and how he does and how he speaks. By doing just completely the other direction makes Blade a different type of character.
You know, I think, yes, I agree. He definitely needs to hone on his and work on martial arts. And if Mr. Mahershala Ali is hanging out saying, no, I'll be fine, don't worry. 2 words for you, sir. Iron fist. So make sure you put the work in and do it well.
I'm sure he's dying to do this. Most actors are like, let me get this straight. You're going to pay me. I'm going to get in good shape. I'm going to learn martial arts, and I'm just going to be cool in a movie. Like most of the time, he's like, "Oh,
what's his name? Bob Odenkirk."
Yep.
Yeah, Bob Odenkirk became a badass for nobody, right?
Yep.
The movie Nobody, not for nobody.
Yep. Exactly. So yeah.
I think you're right too. Yeah. If he tries to emulate Snipes' style, like I said, the Shotokan karate style is one of those styles that is not in favor right now. So either I don't know if you can go with an MMA close combat style when you're fighting vampires who if they get close to you. So he has to use something distant and more. And if he's gonna play with his acting skills, then maybe he does need a more elegant style, or you could switch it up and he could be more gun focused, and maybe he uses his guns and other distance weapons, or literally just have him always fight with a sword. If he just always does his combat with a sword, that would be a cool style as well.
Or it goes the opposite way, and it's not action. It's about a tortured hero and the inner turmoil he faces.
a lot of sitting on chairs, contemplating what to do next.
Yeah, sharpening instead of whittling wood. He's just sharpening his canines.
Yeah, but yeah, that would be your guys' advice to him. I definitely advise him to get a badass car. So if you're gonna dig up the old Charger. So I was corrected on the lights. So the lights were from a 68 Charger. I just wasn't used to seeing that version of the lights.
You can just be getting the cars from Fast and Furious, John. They're not going to be using them soon. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah. He could get some of those fancy the concept car Chargers, the mid-engine Charger if you wanted. That would be dope. So yeah, definitely get a cool car for this new movie. So that leads us to I think are we almost done?
Actually, you know what? I wanted to show. I was just going to say, there's worried that it's still a Disney Marvel movie. You know what? I would agree with that because obviously Blade is a hard R. That being said, Kevin Feige has opened the door to Deadpool 3 being an R-rated movie. That door has been open. The next person through that door is going to be Blade. So I think that we're going to be safe in that regard.
John,
we're not going to have Disney princesses.
Yeah. So should now that we're talking about the new movie, should Wesley Snipes cameo in this new movie as either a passing of the torch or just someone in the background to pay homage to his portrayal of Blade along those lines? I think Rob did answer this. I did post this on one of the social medias or whatever, and you were saying no, but do you still go by that stance, Rob? Do you not want
of course. Do I know why?
No. Back again?
No, because then he's not Blade. The character of Blade is being portrayed by Mahershala Ali. Then it just becomes somebody else. No, what are you gonna say? It's his father. Like, I think the problem with that is that then it's like, oh shit, that's Wesley Snipes. Like, this goes back to what I was saying, was that rightly or wrongly, people associate this character with Wesley Snipes. Stop. End of story. That's it. Yeah. You throw him into the new movie, it takes you away from that movie going experience. We can suspend the disbelief. You see Stan Lee and all the different cameos he did and this and that, and you know that the upcoming Ghostbusters is going to have, Dan Aykroyd, and you're going to, this and that. And you're fine because you've had 30 plus years away from the original Ghostbusters movie. You have 24 years away from this Blade movie, but it's still Wesley Snipes' Blade. We still watch this movie, and Wesley Snipes, up until a couple years ago, was still hounding Kevin Feige to reboot Blade with him in the title role. So unfortunately, as much as I think you'd be great to say, oh, let's have him, pay some respect to what he did before, I honestly truly believe if he's in the first movie, it will take you away from that movie because you're focused now on Wesley Snipes.
Yeah,
but
okay.
But Stu's going to disagree.
Well, Stu answers, Rob. If you have anyone that you would cast as Whistler, start thinking of it now so we can circle back to you. And you can't pick Armie Hammer because I don't think he's going to be allowed.
No!
Stu, go ahead.
No, I think the solution is what they did with the Hulk. What they do is they don't have him physically show up, but Mahershala Ali's Blade has a movie going in the background on his TV in New Jack City.
Yeah.
So
that's
that is Wesley Snipes in the scene in New Jack City, just playing in the background. that is the cameo that you do. So not him physically, or you can do a voice on a phone call or something just to do, but not him physically. It's just, you know, something in the background to say this is the character. We do homage to the actor, but you know, he's, to Rob's point, you can't have him just show up and be like Shaft in the other Shaft movie, where
Right.
you know, there's Samuel Jackson as Shaft, there's the original Shaft, and there's a junior Shaft. There's 3 Shafts. Wait, what? 3 Shafts? So
I didn't even realize that movie came out. I gotta watch it one day.
It's on Netflix. Yeah.
So in Blade's comic history, there actually is a mentor character, Jamal Afari, who is a jazz musician who actually trains Blade to hunt vampires and stuff. So you don't think Snipes should get
no, because in the multiverse, this universe exists. So then it's like, well, you might as well just theoretically all these universes. If Spider-Man Tobey Maguire shows up in Spider-Man, then Blade could theoretically show up in the future. Another Blade version could show up and help this Blade. So just leave that window open. Yeah. 2 Blades all at once.
Two Blades are better than
brand
one.
New. 2 Blades spinning at once.
This Blade cuts this hair, this one cuts it, and then this one pulls the other hair from under your
way
skin
better than the Floby
and slices up your face. And now these razors vibrate. Anyways, Rob, did you have any casting for Whistler?
I've got 2 choices. I'm either gonna go with, if we're gonna go, I would go Denzel Washington, because seeing him in The Equalizer, that guy can kick some ass. And if his role is to train Blade to help him, and you actually get to see this stuff, if this is like an origin of Blade and this and that, Denzel Washington I think would be a fantastic Whistler. Because that guy is menacing and kicks the shit out of people. But if they're going to try to do a Chris Christopherson ripoff, I go Bradley Cooper, because look what he did in A Star Is Born. So
I got a guy that you'll never see coming. He's a badass. He knows how. He owns his own motorcycle company. That's Mr. Keanu Reeves. He has a beard. He has a long hair.
Keanu Reeves to show up.
He's perfect.
Wait, we have to run. There are some vampires coming.
Just have Keanu just there, and trust me, the movie is gonna just dollar bills, y'all. That's
I'm gonna one up you. Ready? Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman as Whistler.
Wolverine. You can't do that.
He's gonna do it. He's coming back as Wolverine. But
all right, last one.
So final question, folks, and then you can hit us with all your favorite Blade quotes as we close out the show. Wesley Snipes, is this his best movie? Is this the movie that you think of when Wesley Snipes, when you hear Wesley Snipes' name? Like Rob said, when Wesley Snipes tribute comes up, is it going to be Blade? Is this Blade's? I mean, not Blade. See, I called him Blade. Wesley Snipes.
That's a great point, John. In your in memoriam for the Oscars, if you was to pass away, hopefully not soon.
No, never.
What picture or what scene would they use in the Oscar tribute to him? That's a great question. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see what Rob would say is Wesley Snipes' best performance.
Yeah. Is it White Man Can't Jump, Rob?
No, I'm gonna go with New Jack City.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with New Jack City. I can't think of anything more. I know he did The Expendables, and I know he's had a tough time since he's been released from prison. But I would probably, you know, I honestly, I really truly believe White Man Can't Jump and Blade are his most known properties. I would probably say though New Jack City, what he did in that movie was phenomenal. So yeah.
The part I believe was written for him after, I don't know if it was after he was in that Michael Jackson Bad video or whatever. I think that part was specifically catered to him. Stu, is this the Wesley Snipes movie for you? Is this your number one if we did a Wesley Snipes movie draft?
No. I think Rob has already kind of said the movie I thought would be the best one, so I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to go with a performance. Like, I was torn because he's supporting in these 2 roles, but they're so iconic and so memorable that I would be comfortable either one. But this one smidges the other one by like the smallest of margins, and that's Major Leagues. Him as Luke Hayes. That is a movie where he exudes so much charisma and so much like energy in the scenes that he has. And rightfully best for him, he did come back for the second Major League movie. They're like, yeah, forget, I don't want to come back. And they got Omar Epps to replace him.
Yeah.
Not the right one. But
No.
yeah, he was really essential in that first movie. And then the second one, Smidge, is Wildcats. He is really good in the limited time he has, and he eats up a lot of screen in the moments he's in. But Major Leagues and Wildcats are probably the ones.
It's like all, it's like all sports movies for Stu. Major League Wildcats is The Fan number 3 for you.
No, but you know that Goldie Hawn performance as well. Like she takes over the team, and there's a lot of there's also Woody Harrelson. I think is in that movie too. Like it's like a weird mixture of Woody Harrelson's in that movie. I can't say White Man Can't Jump because the problem with White Man Can't Jump is that he doesn't know how to play basketball. And he's a high dribbler. He doesn't know how to
play baseball either.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He doesn't know, and Willie Mays can't play base. Like he runs and he can't hit. So when he's trying to hit it, when Wesley Snipes does it, he's probably just swinging normally, exaggerating the fact he can't hit the ball. That's what's funny about it.
It worked in his favor.
They're supposed to be hustling guys. And the basketball scenes are so awful that it really makes me uncomfortable when I'm watching basketball scenes in that movie. I'm like, oh man, you can't dribble, you can't do layups, you can't shoot. I'm like, oh, I don't buy you as a basketball street hustler. So yeah.
So
John,
I think it is Blade, but I need to rewatch another movie that is a contender, and that is Demolition Man. Demolition Man, him as the main bad guy. You have Stallone,
Simon Phoenix.
Yeah, you also have Sandra Bullock.
It's rough. I rewatched
it. You have like everybody in that movie. I remember really enjoying it when I was a kid, but I think it is going to come down to Blade for me because of that nostalgia. Steve shouts out Money Train.
Well, I'm just really glad nobody said U.S. Marshals because that was
really bad. I thought it was good. I've never
seen U.S. Marshals, the sequel to The Fugitive. Yeah,
even Iron Man couldn't save that movie, and that was. Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. was in that film too, and it was rough. It was really rough. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. So I think that wraps up for Blade 1998. I am semi-interested to see how Blade 2 stacks up because a lot of people say Blade 2 is overall more favored than Blade 1 for some reason. But I think just the groundwork the Blade 1 laid. But I don't know. I'd have to rewatch 2. I think it's got a lot of CG in it though, so it might look even more dated.
I think the problem with number 2, as much as I love it, because first off, when Guillermo del Toro puts his like dream team of like Blade hunters together, I love all those characters, whether they're in Red Dwarf and Donnie Young and like Ron Perlman. Like there are people that I love in that movie, but really the vampires in it basically became The Strain. Like all the vampires, I'm like, oh, you just made another property called The Strain, and I'm like, didn't you make that movie Didn't you do that for Marvel? So it is kind of like rough. And Corey Stroll's in that movie as well, or TV show as well. Wasn't very good, but yeah.
I feel like Blade 2. It's a bit more plotting. Like it's slower than the first movie, and I think sometimes to its detriment. But it's better than Blade Trinity.
Yeah.
Because that was just really bad. That was really bad.
Yeah, it was. It had to John's point. Probably had like a few moments in it where you're like, "Hey, that's not bad," and then the rest of it's just
it's horrible. And Triple H is in it. Triple H is in it, right? Like
no, Triple H, but Parker Posey's in this movie for no reason as well. Like Triple H did a good job of being like the brooding bad guy, but it's just like that's his thing.
That's his shtick.
Yeah. So
I'm just giving people the update. We are on Spider-Man No Way Home trailer watch, and it still hasn't dropped yet. Now, CinemaCon did start a little bit late, according to the people online. It started a few minutes late, so we are still waiting for Spider-Man No Way Home. But
it'll be 3 to 10 minutes. But we should wrap this up and.
So you might see another late night trailer reaction, but thank you everybody for tuning in and watching our rewatch review of Blade 1998 starring Wesley Snipes and Chris Christopherson and Stephen Dwarf. Yeah, thanks for joining us. So tomorrow we do have Andre coming in with what's new at Heroes World. Wednesday is possibly another Heroes Word where he speaks to comic creators, and then hey, what did I miss, or so what did I miss, whatever you want to call it. Our news recap show on Thursday, and then Andre's book club, which is Star Wars: Heir to the Empire, on Friday. And then we're back with the Heroes World podcast on Sunday, talking about for sure what if episode 3, and we'll see what else drops in the meantime. And if you want to see a Snake Eyes review, definitely let us know. But I don't know if we're going to do it.
I've got to the first 30 minutes, and it is rough. So, yep.
There's a lot of interesting things going on. So
I did
you,
watch
everybody.
The Witcher anime today, so that dropped. So that's something that happened.
Interesting. All right.
I
don't think there's any shortage for us to do.
It is following Vesemir, and it is the fall of the castle. So it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, cool. So stay tuned, folks. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on the notifications in case we do drop a random late night Spider-Man No Time to Die trailer, whatever the hell that damn movie's called. Thank you,
No
Rob.
Way Home, dumbass.
It's never coming out, so it doesn't matter. Never going to come out is what it should be called. Thank you again, Rob. Thank you, Stu, for joining us and classing up the place and being a little more critical than we probably would ever be. And thank you, everybody, in the comments. Anyone have Rob? Do you have a favorite Blade quote before we go?
But you're so big.
Blade. I said Blade, dude. Come on. We're not watching that other movie. Stu, did you have a favorite quote from this movie?
I think it's when he's like, "You got me scared," and he pretends to shiver. Is that like Blade shiver? And I'm like, what happened? Chills.
There's one speech that he gives. I didn't pull it, but he's like something like the world on the surface is like a candy coated blah blah blah, and he explains the whole vampire underworld. I actually quite like that quote, and of course, some mother effer is always going to try and ice skate uphill, which we probably wouldn't have got if they went through the other ending. So shout outs to them for dropping that classic.
Cool.
But anyways, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good night.